Hi, Captain Steve for BoatTest.com, and in this video I'm going to do a performance evaluation and sea trial of the all-new Schaefer 450 Fly. By the way, we also gave this boat a good sea trial at night in 6 to 8 foot seas offshore, and at the end of the video I'll tell you what happened. But first, I'm going to go through the boat and show you the important operational aspects of the boat, so as a captain, you'll know exactly what operating this boat will be like. The engine room is accessed from a hatch in the cockpit deck. There are 3 steps leading down to the deck of the engine compartment. Powering this boat, we've got IPS 650 engines. Now these are IPS drives, so you've got the pods, of course. You can also get stern drive power, or coming soon, 600 Mercuries. There's 4 feet 7 inches of headroom in this compartment. While Schaefer will configure each engine room based on the requested power package, this one has the fiberglass fuel tanks fully forward and to both sides. The Raycor fuel filters are mounted to the aft side of the tanks. A generator battery is right next to the 9 kW generator. A Seakeeper Gyro 3 stabilizer is mounted on the center line. To the side, there's an exhaust separator dividing the exhaust gases from the exhaust water, and one gets discharged below the waterline and the other above. Notice how the hoses are all properly double clamped. At the aft bulkhead, there's the hydraulic components for the swim platform and the side drop-down balcony. The fixed firefighting system is easily seen. And here are the magnetically actuated remote battery switches controlled from a panel on the main deck. Now there's very little space to the outboard sides of the engines, but that's not really an issue thanks to the service points and daily checks being located in the center walkway, the engine-mounted fuel filters being the only exception. Fenders are only put here temporarily, and racks can be added to the bow rails for convenient storage. Here we see a drawing of the engine room. Note that the fiberglass fuel tanks are outboard and forward, the generators to starboard, and the arrow is pointing to where the standard crew cabin is. The crew cabin features a single berth. There's a sink, an additional pull-out sprayer, and an electric flush toilet. Now note that some owners won't need a captain or mate for a 45-foot boat, so in that case, this space can be used for storage. The flybridge helm is mounted to the port hand side. The compass is directly in line with the wheel. Upper panel has a 12-inch display and the Volvo Penta display. There's obviously room for another multifunction display. Down below, beverage holder, electrical switches, the IPS joystick, the digital throttles, trim tab controls, spotlight control, engine start stops. Fusion stereo is just below and there's connectivity right alongside. Steering wheel is mounted to a tilt base. The VHF is just over to the left, and then more beverage holders. There's a small cubby for holding your stuff. It's got drain holes in the 4 corners. I'd like to see a padded surface at the bottom. The helm seat is 40 inches wide and includes a single flip-up bolster. It's in a fixed position. Fire extinguisher storage is just underneath. Now let's go to the lower helm and see what we find there. The lower helm is on an elevated platform 15 inches off the deck. There's an upholstered console with an acrylic panel, Marine multifunction display over to the left, Volvo Penta display. Now we have a Seakeeper display adding to the mix. Remote control for the spotlight, ignitions, trim tabs, engine controls, VHF just ahead, air conditioning vent, and then electrical switches. And just above, notice we have an opening side window so we can add fresh ventilation to the mix. Over to the left side of the helm is the IPS joystick. Now note that the joystick is placed on the left side of the wheel so that when backing into a slip, the captain is facing aft and his left hand falls easily to the control. This is a good design on Schaefer's part. The seat includes flip armrests to both sides and it's adjustable fore and aft and recline. As we make our way to the bow, the average width of the side deck, 17 inches. There's a rail along the cabin side. Rail height, 25 inches, and my goodness, look at these rails. 1.75 inches. I'd like to see another rail right along the top of the cabin right here. And then we go to the ground tackle. At the working end of the bow, rail height tops out at 32 inches. Here we've got a 20 kilogram plow style anchor on an anchor roller that's recessed into the cap rail. It's a chain stopper, windlass just behind, foot controls are just ahead. Cleats to both sides are 10 inches. There's chafing gear just outside the cleat. Access to both sides give us storage and access to the road locker. The remote control spotlight is mounted to a base at the bow rail. Visibility is through this huge single-piece windshield, 9 feet 3 inches by 4 feet 6 inches. At the walk-through to the swim platform, 30 amp shore power connection, and emergency engine shutoffs. To both quarters of the cockpit deck, 10-inch cleats, heavy-duty chafing gear behind and to the sides. Below, there's a pull-out cleat. The Schaefer Yachts 450 Fly has a length overall of 45 feet and a beam of 14 feet. With an empty weight of 34,800 pounds, 74% fuel, and 3 people on board, we had an estimated test weight of 36,812 pounds. With the twin 480 horsepower Volvo Penta IPS 650 D6 engines run up to 3810 RPM, our speed topped out at 33.9 miles per hour. Best cruise was only slightly less at 3600 RPM and 31.2 miles per hour. It was at that speed that the 44 gallon per hour fuel burn worked out to be 0.7 miles per gallon and a range of 202 statute miles, all while still holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 317 gallon total fuel capacity. In acceleration tests, we reached planing speed in an average 8.1 seconds, continued through 20 miles per hour in 12.5 seconds, and on to 30 in 27.3. As for her handling, she responds nicely to the helm with no feedback to the wheel. She'll lean roughly 15 degrees into a hard overturn and come around 180 degrees at cruise speed in roughly 30 seconds. Being IPS driven, she has the usual wide turning radius, but slowing will tighten that easily enough. She handles chop well with just a minor hull slap at top speeds. In fact, after the test, we made a nighttime offshore run in the blind from Miami to Fort Lauderdale in 6 to 8 foot seas in pitch black and pouring rain while inside at the lower helm, and there was never a cause for concern. We did find that the door to the refrigerator needed to be adjusted so it stayed closed, but that's it. We actually spent most of the trip eating cheese and crackers with pepperonis. That's how much of a non-issue those conditions were. So she's easy to drive, even easier to handle around the dock. It's a great owner-operator's boat. She's also fun to be on as a guest, but that's another video. Be sure to look for it. For now, this is my full sea trial and performance evaluation of the all-new 450 Fly from Schaefer. For BoatTest.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.